Imagine, you wake up in a dark room. There's a hobo brusquely telling you how to kill faceless mobsters. Next thing you know, you're faced with an animal masked tribunal. They accuse you, shout at you to leave, and one of them, wearing the same thing you are, save for a rubber chicken mask, tells you to remember April 3rd, 1989. And then you wake up. Welcome to Hotline Miami, a synthwave-laced, high-octane, arcade-style top-down shooter, the first officially published game by Swedish dev team Jonathan Soderstrom and Dennis Wedden. The two creatives first met collaborating on an interactive music video for Wedden's band, Fucking Werewolf Asso. No, I am not kidding, that is the name of the band. After finding out that they liked working together, the two started to build a survival horror game called Life Death Island, which unfortunately never came to fruition. Undeterred, they took a look at the unfinished catalog of Soderstrom, and a project that caught their eye was titled Super Carnage, easily recognizable as a beta version of Hotline Miami. With Wedden on art and music and Soderstrom programming, the two completed the first 3 levels in a week and released it as a demo. From there, it would be found by fellow indie developers Vlambeer, who would pass it along to their publishers at Devolver Digital. Recognizing a good game when they saw one, Devolver reached out to Denatron and asked them to continue to turn the project into a full release. The game's story follows Jacket, an anonymous man in a Letterman jacket who wears an array of animal-themed masks at the player's discretion. After completing the tutorial segment mentioned above, Jacket will wake up in their apartment with a neon world swirling outside. The only thing to do is to pick up the phone and listen to messages directing you to your first job. The caller identifies themselves as Tom's Bakery, gives you an address along with ingredients, your first mask, and instructions to pick up a package and deliver it. From here, each level of the game functions virtually the same. You receive a phone call from a mysterious source who give you an address and some sort of direction along the lines of, "A pipe's burst, we need you to come clean up," or "We want you to DJ tonight," never mentioning the real reason you're headed there: gratuitous violence. Hotline Miami's distinct style is a combination of, first, the shared love of top-down games like 1985's Gauntlet and 1993's The Chaos Engine, mixed with a remediation of classic 1980s snuff film effects like the cathode ray tube screen and the black box text UI. Snuff films are also present in the game's story in Chapter 3, Decadence, wherein the player slaughters a residence full of mobsters, as well as a mini-boss named The Producer. Once this Marcellus Wallace wannabe has been dealt with, Jacket walks into a room with a blonde woman laying drugged and bloody, waiting for the end. The room is set up like a film shoot, and need I say more? Reputed horror film magazine Fangoria defines a snuff film as a film in which the death is premeditated with the purpose of being filmed in order to make money, oftentimes with a sexual aspect. Take this into consideration with the question the game asks of whether you like hurting people or not. Do you like it? Jacket, like most video game characters, can be interpreted as a self-insert of the player. He endures the game's events fairly passively and silently, being the only character in the 2-game series without a single line of canon dialogue or a dialogue portrait. The player instead exerts their influence on the game world through the masks you choose, each bearing special attributes, and how you go about enacting violence. Furthermore, the in-game masks have their own names, an element which the game's sequel explains are the names of their original owners. This means that all the identities Jacket assumes can be taken to be the real Jacket. Furthermore, Jacket is a gamer himself, having some kind of game system hooked up to a TV on the floor of his bedroom. The game's high score system and its basis for rewards, flexibility, door slams, exposure, combos, etc., can also be viewed as reinforcement to the idea that Jacket is the gamer/the player. Rather than exploring the reason behind what he's doing, Jacket, and the player, would sooner use that time to do it again and again. So why does Jacket's identity matter? In an arcade game like those that inspired the rapid retry gameplay of Hotline, the player character was a faceless archetype for players to use as they chased new heights and newer scores. But in Hotline Miami, there is a story, an overarching narrative across 2 games. Hotline Miami can then best be classified under the term blank fiction. Blank fiction refers to a style characterized by a flat, effectless, atonal prose and non-committed narrative voices. It deals with contemporary urban life, violence, sex, drugs, and consumerism. All of these can be seen in Hotline Miami through the asynchronous timeline of events and the conflicting narratives. The players themselves help write by killing Biker and Jacket. This makes the true motivations of Jacket unknowable to the player, despite them being the main conduit through which we see the world of Hotline Miami. Very similar to the protagonist of American Psycho, another modern blank fiction example, wherein Patrick Bateman is an unreliable narrator and unknowable to the viewer. By the time the credits roll on Hotline Miami for the first time, there will be much left unseen by the player. The game has not one but 2 hidden levels and an alternate ending, and like the message left on Jacket and Biker's answering machines, the opportunity to get the blood pumping and spraying will pull players back in again and again. Ultimately, the two founders, Jonathan Soderstrom and Dennis Wedden, created the game to look like an average arcade shooter that hits you with the cold reality of violence the longer you play. Upbeat synthwave music as the level music, and then a dreary hum for the post-level audio. The average player is meant to go through this experience, look at what they've done, and consider how it affects their life beyond game space, which is, in my opinion, what makes this game a masterpiece.